Hello, I'm Brendan Roy, the studio painter prime here at Privateer Press. Today with me is Tony Konachek. He's the video architect and director of electronic recordings, or as he likes to be known as, Vader. As well as Josh Colon, who is the No Quarter Prime editorial assistant, or as I like to call him, my Privateer Press power pal.
Hello, everyone.
Today I'm going to be painting up the resculpt coming up in February of the Death Jack. It's beautifully sculpted by Jose Roig, and it is wonderfully engineered by Marco Segovia and our production team. So I'm going to focus on painting up the Skulls of Hate today. I've already painted up some other areas just to highlight those sculpt. And I've already done Jack Bone as the base color on these skulls. And then I'm going to start with a wash of Cricks Bane highlight. And that will get me started.
God, it looks so good. Oh, what a great sculpt.
It is just fantastic.
And I know people have been asking for a resculpt of the Death Jack for a long time, too.
I know, I'm one of those people.
God.
So, Josh, what do you know about the Death Jack? What are his origins?
What's interesting before we talk about the lore is the Death Jack was originally a construct for the Iron Kingdoms RPG. It showed up in the very first Monsternomicon way back in like 2002. And so when War Machine came out, that was one of the first things that Cricks players wanted. They wanted to see the Death Jack as a playable thing on the tabletop. But it was for a couple of years after that would happen, right? The Seether Warjack was kind of like the precursor on the tabletop for it. It was kind of like the taste of things to come, right? And in the fiction, the Seether and the Death Jack are actually kind of related. They're kind of like cousins. There was so no one knows in the setting where the Death Jack comes from, right? Not even Cricks. Cricks, despite popular belief, as far as you know, did not create the Death Jack. They just captured it a couple centuries back. I've been wandering around Ord and Kador and Signar for a really, really long time. All we knew is that there's a book called the Liber Mechanicus. I think I pronounced that right. That has a sort of origin to the Death Jack, right? And so there's some sort of connection to it. Some people think that there's maybe like an infernal connection to it, to the Death Jack. There might be some Orgoth origins to it. No one really knows for sure, but all we know is that there's a connection to that book. And so there was this master necrotech called Varric Kerr who was obsessed with finding that book and discovering the secrets of the Death Jack. And sort of to try to experiment and learn that stuff, he created the Seether. And that's where the Seether and the Death Jack have similar, like, uncontrollable sort of soul drive kind of things. Then after that, they captured the Death Jack, and it's been really bad for the enemies of Cricks ever since.
So do we not know how old the Death Jack actually is?
We do not, right? The earliest sighting of the Death Jack was in Kador, actually, about like 300 years ago.
Does this thing predate actual warjacks created by?
Some people say yes. Some people say that it actually might predate steamjack technology, oddly enough, which is pretty crazy.
Who do you think made it?
Oh, I have theories, but I can't say because they do have some. I do have some insider knowledge that I can't.
Whoa. He wasn't talking to you. He was talking to me. I think someone from the future created it.
So time travel, possibly.
We know it's possible.
We know it's possible, right? We know Haley has been known to kind of mess with the time stream quite a bit. That'd be really, really interesting. But yeah, so and then the Death Jack has a tendency to kind of just disappear for a while and then reappear randomly and attack cities and towns.
So like time travel.
Or
Maybe he's just jumping around, and to him it's all the same time period.
Maybe the Death Jack's only in his perspective like a year old, right? And it just kind of keeps moving back.
So what you're saying is he's not evil. He's just a trouncing infant wandering from town to town, from conflict to conflict.
Sure, that uses the Skulls of Hate on his shoulders to eat souls. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Sweet. So they're kind of like shoulder bibs.
They're kind of like shoulder bibs. Yeah, that's right.
Sweet. You heard it here first.
And so the Skulls of Hate are interesting. It's kind of so the Death Jack chassis has been destroyed many times, right? Well, not many, but a few. But it always reconstructs itself as long as the skulls of hate on the shoulders are kept intact.
And no one's figured that out yet?
No one has, or at least maybe no one outside of Cricks has. The last time it was destroyed was back in 605 AR by my favorite guy, Gordon Grunback, the Dwarven Rollcaster. Basically turned it to pulp with his hammer Forge Father. And rumor has it that ever since then, the Deathjack has been known to, like, there's been a couple of times where the Deathjack has been in contact, like been in combat with some Rulic forces, and it'll actually turn its attention more towards rule forces, and people think it's still looking for Gordon. And it's something I would love to see, right? I definitely love to see a rematch there.
That brings great pleasure to me because Gordon's my boy.
I love Gordon, right? He's a lot of people in Privateer love Gordon Grunback. And I think it'd be interesting to see a rematch between those two. I don't know if it'd go as well for Gordon a second time. Right.
I love him.
We got
but
Josu Diaz talking about during a game of War Machine rolling a die, and if it comes up high, then the Deathjack just appears in the middle of the board.
Oh yeah,
every time.
Oh yeah, that would be absolutely
and that would
brutal.
be terrifying.
in Company of Iron, no less.
Oh my God!
Another Company of Iron scenario. Like no matter what scenario you're playing,
I'm writing that
Writing
one
it down.
I'm writing that one down.
Random encounter.
Random encounter with the Deathjack.
we gotta talk to Oz about it. Have him make it happen. So, like, I always hear when it comes to painting that painting black is pretty tough. Is that true, Brendan?
What was that?
Painting black. Like, I always hear the painting black is pretty hard, right?
That is also what I hear.
Yeah.
It definitely can be just because of the value shifts, how dark and bright it needs to go. The easiest hint I would give in painting black is as long as you paint it like a normal color, but about 50% or a little bit less or a little bit more of the surface area is the actual black,
Sure.
it will appear as black. And then the color that you put into it, if you put any color and it's not just black and white, will look like the reflective properties of whatever. And then how bright you take it, how white
Sure.
it goes, how high in value just determines how shiny it is, as anything is.
And we did recently put out a P3 Presents video on that gives you the basics of painting black.
Oh, that's awesome. So it definitely it is known, right? Where you had to make a special video to kind of like explain.
Absolutely,
that.
yeah. I mean, as far as I've seen, it's definitely one of those topics that that people kind of struggle with. It's got some tips and tricks, and Brendan covered it. It's just leaving a lot of the black showing.
Did we?
I think it was Dallas, but yeah.
Well, yeah, Dallas did the video, but
Yeah.
Brendan just talked about
right,
the same concept just now.
Did we do one on yellow or red? I thought there was another color we did too.
We did yellow.
We did yellow.
Yeah, we did one for yellow.
So
Yeah.
do you not struggle personally with black, Brendan?
I guess I was always comfortable painting black.
Sure.
Not necessarily that it was as effective, because obviously we get better as we continue to do things. But I was also the type of person that would cheat on my blacks and maybe just fully base coat something black and just walk away for tabletop, and it's black, and then I'm done.
Just done.
But the ones I hear are usually yellow, red, and white, and that's just because of coverage and the difficulty in obtaining that coverage sometimes.
Sure.
It just leads to frustrations and how many times you got to go over the base coat.
Do you have any particular color that always is trickier for you personally when you're painting? Or not at this point?
Trickier? Not currently, I would say. Red is still one of those colors, I suppose, because I have the recipe to do red,
Right.
but sometimes it can be difficult to maneuver that recipe in different ways so it doesn't
Sure.
look like the same recipe
The same
time
red,
and time
yeah.
and time again. And that's just because as you mix other colors into your red, you lose the properties. You desaturate it, so
Right.
it looks less and less red as you go, and it's hard to bring it back. So.
Morning, Paolo. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Also, he's talking about the crew. I was kind of busy while we were doing the intro stuff. Did we mention where Dallas and John are this
I
week?
don't think so.
No, I did not.
They are not here. They are currently in Philadelphia for PAX Unplugged.
That's right. That's right. They're doing the con business.
All that con business.
But we everyone in this room, in fact, came back just from War Machine Weekend.
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago.
And I know that you gave a couple classes, Brendan, on painting. How did those go? How did you feel those went?
They seem to have gone okay.
Nice, nice.
There's a lot more philosophy and concepts behind those classes.
Did they have themes like where you're like, this is a class on?
Yeah, I did a color theory class, a painting for the tabletop class.
Nice.
And another one.
And another one,
which would be two-brush blending, because we always do two-brush blending.
Sure.
We really want to enforce how easy and effective that is as any level of painting you want to go for, just how it increases your speed, but provides you whatever quality of painting you're looking for.
Did you enjoy teaching?
I do enjoy interacting with people. Teaching is an interesting, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
It's very different. I prefer to interact with people and see how someone else paints,
Right.
and guide them and give them my personal experience from that point than to just instruct. Because we have the videos for that. So
Sure.
if you're curious how we paint something and we have a video for it, it's weird for me just to do that again when I could just direct you to the video. But I love watching how people paint, because there's still stuff to learn from people, even if they don't feel they're as good or you might be more experienced. There's still a lot of things you can learn from people of all skill levels. Just their creativity and how they approach things can be inspiring.
Sure.
Even at a painter that works for Privateer Press.
Someone
it's
with
very good.
Painter Prime in their title.
Painter Prime in their title.
Well, and I always think it's nice too, like when you're, when you learn something from a book or video or anything like that, you know, you're getting this kind of condensed, fundamental idea, and even if you know that and have learned all that stuff, talking to someone in a demonstration environment, having an actual conversation, either being able to ask questions or, when you talk about those things, you'll add things that weren't included, different ideas or different ways of thinking about it that maybe didn't show up in the original material.
Absolutely.
Because when someone's telling you how to do something, you're learning from their knowledge. When someone's showing you how to do something and interacting with you, you're learning from their experience.
Right.
And that can be a bigger benefit sometimes, and I'd rather impart that when I have access to it.
And being able to have your work critiqued, right? Like, so you learn from your mistakes. You have someone more experienced that have made those same mistakes.
I will say I hate critiquing.
Do you really?
I do. I don't like judging other people's work. I have no problems giving advice if someone's asking for it or has an idea of where they want to go with their painting, if I can help them out. But actually just bare bones critiquing someone's work is like doesn't feel like it's my place.
Wow.
Because I enjoy all paint jobs of all varieties, just across the board. So I love it all. So.
You're too noble-hearted
I'm gonna say
to destroy people's dreams.
Don't get anybody's hopes up.
What? No, it's enjoyable. Like a fully painted army is better than any army I've ever painted. So even if I have one piece that's really, really nice, it's probably only that piece. Because it's hard to, I love all the armies, they'll say. So I have a lot of them. So I bounce around a lot. So the next step after Cricks Bane highlight wash, and now that it's all dried, I'm just going to be doing Thornwood green mixed with Guncore brown, about a 50-50 ratio. And that's going to bring some of those earth tones back into this and make it look like worn, older, kind of grittier bone on the shoulders.
That's amazing.
Josh, what did you do at War Machine Weekend? I didn't see you much.
Yeah.
I was locked down on the live stream.
That's right. So I ran the store most of the time. That was great getting to interact with the community and seeing people be excited for the pre-releases we had there, the 12 Factions of Christmas stuff we had there. That was really great. And then I ran the Strange Light RPG adventure on Sunday for people, and that was a lot of fun. People really dug it, and it was really great. People really love it, and some people wanted to pick up No Quarter Prime #1 after running it, so I couldn't have done too terrible of a job, you know.
I'm sure it was great.
But it was a good time, and it was great seeing people, great seeing all the painted armies, right? Like, man, like War Machine Weekend. It was the first time I'd ever gone to War Machine Weekend, and it was a blast.
Wow,
And
this was my 4th year.
Yeah.
This was actually the first year that I had an opportunity to play any games.
Oh, yeah?
I took my little Company of Iron
played Company
gun
of Iron,
majors.
that's
Yeah,
right.
I played a couple games.
How did that go?
Well, it was fun. My first game I played against a mercenary force, and it was I forget the name of it, but it's scenario 6 where you're the defenders are in the dead center of the table.
Oh yeah, I forgot the
And
name of
then
it too. But
the
yeah,
attackers deploy on each end of the board,
Right.
spread evenly, and then you just have to go in and wipe out the models. And man, the gun mages, I thought it was going to be a cakewalk, and he had the Gobber Bellows crew and just sat and smoked the whole time, and then sent out. Sorry, not mercs, minions.
Minions, yeah.
He had the minions, and then the gators start walking out and slaughtering me. So it was rough. The second game, I thought I had it.
Yeah.
And went up against some zealots and daughters.
Nice.
And
The faithful.
yeah, raiding the raiders, planting the bombs. And I thought, I was knocking them out, taking them off the table left and right, and then all of a sudden the game was over.
Oh.
Yeah, just
yeah.
like I
done.
I thought it was a total lock, and then nope, not at all. But I had a really good time playing.
That's awesome.
Just to be able to get in those games is great.
Well, it's such a quick and fun game, right? Like, there's really nothing quite like playing Company of Iron, especially if you're used to playing, the longer games of War Machine and Hordes. Like, Company of Iron feels like a completely different experience, because it is. It's a completely different experience.
Well, that's what let me do it at the con was, typically trying to get in. I'm a slow player.
Right.
So a game of War Machine after a long day of streaming and then, talking and hanging out with people in the community, it's real hard for me to try and fit a game in
Right.
over the weekend and a couple hours of Company of Iron. It's a little easier to squeeze in.
I can get like 2 or 3 games in at that same time. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah, like I've been toying with the idea of expanding beyond my own protectorate forces for Company of Iron. I mean, besides that and my dwarves, I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking of trying something else out. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go with minions. I don't know. I do like Bastion Falk a lot, so maybe it's a gun. I mean, like we've said it before, you're going to make a gun mage force at some point with Company of Iron. It's just gonna happen.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, like doesn't matter what faction you play, gun mages are sweet. And so,
But
like,
now you can do Leia Lee's gun.
I
mages, too.
know. Oh man, I want some of those Thorn gun mages. Well, I have the Thorn gun mages. I had to paint them up and just go to town.
And you can get Terran as well.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah, there's
man.
a lot of them.
Yeah, like gun mages are so dope. Like, I think we spend the rest of the time talking about how sweet gun mages are for the rest of the get your paint on. What do you say? What do
Can
you
we?
say,
Yeah,
Brendan?
let's get rid of that death jack. Get some gun mages
Just
in here.
paint some sweet gun mages. Gun mages are.
Well, I am.
The
It's
bomb.
just they exist inside the Skulls of Hate now.
Yeah, their
'Cause
souls
the
are
Death Jack
trapped
has destroyed them.
Yeah.
In its
no,
terrible.
I
tantrum.
respect that.
Oh, look at that! I've been ignoring the chat. Agatha, hi. It was nice to see you at War Machine
Yeah,
Weekend.
Agatha, hi. Thank you for everything. You were great.
You had great bread.
Great bread, great apple
Yeah,
bread.
and the gingembre,
Oh yeah.
the French ginger ale.
A French ginger ale. Yeah, I remember that. That was real good. Oh man. So do you, Brendan, do you typically try to get some higher quality than tabletop in your own personal minis?
I wouldn't say so, but I do like. You just paint. You get better at painting as you continue painting. So I'm paid to paint. So I'm constantly getting better at painting. So my tabletop quality has changed, but I'm still shooting for tabletop quality
Sure.
when I paint my own stuff. But I found that like what I define as tabletop quality isn't necessarily visual. It's just how much time I'm investing in it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what corners I can cut.
Right. No, that makes sense. So how much time do you typically try to put into something? Say this is gonna be tabletop quality, like.
I would say tabletop for me, I would define as about 3 to 4 hours or so.
Sure.
A model.
A model, okay.
And it just depends on if I want to go a little bit extra on something, like if it's a Warcaster.
Sure.
Well, actually a project. I'll say a project, because I don't want to spend 30 hours on a 10-man unit.
Right, I was about to ask, yeah, like how you.
Unless it's Company of Iron, because then
Right.
it's more exclusive. Might be the only unit I have.
Sure.
and a solo. But if I have to paint more stuff, I'd rather go. So like a Jack, I'll try to shoot for 3 or 4 hours and stuff like that. So as I find, and it also depends on how much is involved, right? So my tabletop quality Menos stuff would probably look a lot worse than my tabletop quality Signar stuff, just because there's so much more trim, unless I'm able to find a way to cut some corners.
Sure. That
So
totally
yeah,
makes
it's just a time thing for me.
Is there something? So when I'm painting up minis and I want to get them done fast, I'm always fighting that urge to just do more detail, and it's hard to dial back. Do you have that same problem?
The way I find it's easy to focus is to get one element that you want to draw everyone's attention to, which is usually like a face or a skin, and spend more time on that, and then you can cheat in a lot of other areas.
Sure.
Pretty easily. I painted it like last year. I was looking through my old photos of stuff I painted. I painted up a troll blood list for Horgel.
Oh, nice.
Some fire eaters, but I only spent time on the skin, and I did some tattoo work. And then I did like a base coat and a wash that I made on every other element. And no one noticed until I pointed it out because I just put so much more time into the skin.
Sure.
And you just kept looking at the skin. So finding ways to cheat is helpful if you're trying to get faster or you're looking for a certain, you want to have a little bit of wow kick to it.
So, like I mean, I know that's kind of an abstract question, but like when you keep saying like finding ways to cheat, what does that mean, right? Like
Cheat for me is just time efficiency versus what
Right.
kind of quality you're trying to get out of it. So if you can spend 4 hours doing something that looks a little less worse than something that takes you 6 hours, why not just do the 4-hour version?
sure.
And that's just, again, an abstract time assessment there, but it's a good example of you need to find the balance between how much time you're putting into something versus what you're getting out of it as a paint job if it's not going to be a display piece or a competition piece as far as where I come from, because like you just want to play with the model.
Sure.
So cheating is just getting a result that you like that didn't take you as much time, and it works.
Also known as a shortcut.
Shortcuts, yeah. We can find those on studio models. I'm not going to do it on the live stream here.
Right.
But, I
but they're
if
they
you find me in
exist.
person, you're like, what did you cheat and how did you cheat? We can go over steps, like how it looks good on camera. But it's not official, quote unquote, studio style if we went all out. Just finding those little shortcuts are just time savers, and your time is everything. It's worth more than almost anything else, where I'm concerned. So for this last shade here, which I might actually do a glaze or so, because these are, right now I'm following our traditional bone recipe on the Skulls of Hate, but these are the Skulls of Hate. They should probably look a little different, so I'm probably going to do something else. But for right now, I'm going to do the last official shade for our bone recipe, which is just Great Coat Gray mixed with Battlefield Brown.
Nice.
And I'll see how that goes. But
So we have a question from Jason. He asks, is there anything you can do to keep metallics from just chewing up your brush to bits? By the time I was done with old Deathjack, my brush had a few strands left to it.
my suggestion is get a really terrible brush like this, which has been chewed to bits. It's even got some old dried mixing medium on it. So this brush, it's just an old nasty brush that I use for base coating stuff.
Hold it near the model.
So it's specifically used for base coating, and it's much worse than all my other brushes. So instead of like using your good brush that's going to get turned to bad brush by the time you're done, just start with a bad brush, and then you don't care so don't throw away your old brushes. You can always find a use for them.
Use your nice new brushes with the fine points for details.
For actual like shading and application, especially since the metallics have the what is it, the flakes in it, like
Right.
the metal shimmer. I think they're mica flakes. I'm not sure what we use in ours, but stuff like that. And that's what ends up hurting your brush. So.
And be happy when you get bad brushes, because every brush has its place. So you just kind of rotate them through and use them for something else. I probably use my bad brushes a little longer than I should.
Yeah, like I didn't do it here just because I wanted him to be more visually interesting for the stream, but I would have just dry brushed all this metal, as we usually profess in our videos to do ahead of time when there's a significant amount of metal. It's fastest and easiest to just dry brush it on, and it applies a lot smoother since you're just dry brushing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that all you do? Just dry brush and then like a wash or something afterwards? Not like
Well, not studio scheme, but that's an easy way to do it. Like when I was talking about cheating on my tabletop models, my own version, like metals are where I do it. I usually will just do a base coat, I'll do a wash, and then I'll highlight when it's all over. And
wow.
you won't really notice because it's just where I'm choosing to do my highlights makes it look a lot contrasty and poppier than, and it just draws attention. So,
That's amazing. That is really, it's amazing how little simple tricks can just make all the difference. Patrick says that Deathjack sculpt is so hot right now. I agree,
Yeah.
Patrick. That sculpt is so good.
This is an amazing sculpt. This is a drop your faction for this faction sculpt.
Yeah, no, for real. Like it's unbelievable. Well, I mean, it's crazy because the previous Death Jet sculpt is like 12 years old, right? And so like, as a company, we've sort of improved so much, like in our production ways and our sculpting ways. Like, it's cool to see a new Death Jack that kind of represents what we can do now as a company.
And the original was all metal, so that thing was a brick.
Yeah.
So what is good about putting this guy together is just how well it was engineered, because the arms will socket in, and you can clip off the little tab it has to move them however you want, but you can't not get this pose. You won't have to struggle to get this pose.
That's awesome.
At all.
That's fantastic.
It'll just happen, and then you can mess with it to get a different pose if you like, but there's no worries about having to line up things and then an arm being off. This will happen if you want it to happen.
That's great.
Yeah.
Marvin asks, do you guys ever use colored primer or always just black?
We usually use black primer. That's just a preference we have in the studio. Sometimes I'll use Zenith priming, which is just, it'll be primed black, and then I'll use white as an overspray over top to get some highlighting. But a lot of that time isn't for actual, to use it to the advantage of Zenithal priming. Usually I'll just do that, like if I'm taking it to a show or it's going to be on camera or someone's going to take a picture of it just to highlight the details of the sculpt.
Sure.
But by the time I'm done painting it, it wouldn't make a difference because I'm still going to base coat everything.
Right.
But normally we'll just do black. Like this guy was just black. Most of the things, if it's hasn't been shown off just as an individual sculpt or in process of being painted, it's probably just going to be primed from black without any extra stuff.
Is there a reason when you might prime something in a full color?
If you're using that as like a pseudo base coat, that would be useful. All our recipes are kind of just already written, and they use our paints, of course.
Sure.
Because they're so great. So we don't really have primers that would base coat our models in the paint color. So we're going to have to paint over it anyway. So there's really no advantage to us doing that. But if you have a primer color you like, I mean,
One of the
see a reason for it.
And if rather than priming your model that color is one thing I've seen you guys do a lot is paint large areas with with an airbrush after it's already been primed. So certainly colossals and gargantuans and even some of the larger models.
Yeah, I can definitely speed along the process, especially when you're trying to base coat that much of a surface area with a tiny little brush. So it helps.
Is your plan ultimately to do a nice Crixian green glow effect on the eyes of the Skulls of Hate, Brendan?
They are, definitely. That's just the way the model is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of glow going on in this guy. We obey a color concept.
Sure.
So it's not always my decision or our decisions, which sometimes is nice because then if you see a color and I can be like, oh, I didn't choose that. I mean, we can fight for a color or something as well if we need to. But like the traditional Death Jack to me has never been the studio solicitation shot of the old Death Jack. It's always been the art that I've seen because I was indoctrinated into the Monsternomicon and 3.5 or OS. What is it? The original Witchfire trilogy.
Yeah, the Witchfire trilogy.
Monsternomicon we had.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw the Death Jack.
Oh yeah.
So that was amazing to me. That's how I played the game. So I didn't even play the miniature game for a long time. I just played the Witchfire trilogy.
Yeah, same actually. Yeah, I did the same thing.
So looking at the art and all the illustrations, like you said, it's a very old sculpt. It's a very old character in our setting. There's a lot of illustrations where it goes. So like going back to that is kind of, it's my bread and butter.
Yeah, it's kind of full circle a little bit.
Got an interesting question from Walker. He wants to know how we got hired or how we got our start with the company. I don't know about you guys. I just kind of got hit from behind. And then I woke up in the building.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't left since.
It is called Privateer Press, right? So we have been pressed into service. Pretty much, right? Like, definitely, it just feels like you just kind of wake up one day and you've been here forever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think for a lot of us, not everyone, but for a lot of us, we were fans of the product, right? And I know a universal story is pretty much that we develop our skills. A lot of us started as freelancers, right? Or a lot of us contributed here or knew someone there. When we develop our skills enough where we could be of use to the powers that be, right? I think that's pretty much my story. I think Brennan, yours is pretty similar,
I just
right?
got lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely my interest in the game that inevitably got me hired, but that was just because my interest in the game allowed me to see the job posting. But definitely, yeah. I mean, it was one of my main games for sure. It still is definitely my main game now. 'Cause I love it so much.
Yeah.
With Company of Iron and all that great stuff.
Yeah. No, it's tremendous.
And it's nice being to know what's coming up. Knowing the secrets.
The secrets
Yeah.
are a nice job perk. I will say that. So, how long do you think it's going to take you to finish this bad boy?
This guy, it's hard to tell. He is a character, so I definitely want we want to spend more time on these guys because we want to like highlight how awesome they are. They can be the showcase. They are the centerpiece for photo shots, just like they would be the centerpiece for your army. So you want to spend a little bit more time on them. But hopefully not too long. Hopefully a couple days.
Sure.
8-hour days painting him. Get it all done. There's a lot of gold trim. And just trim in general and metal, which will have to be base coated, and that's gonna happen. Ideally, I would have dry brushed it all first, but I was looking out for you guys and how interesting he'll look on the camera with the fully painted face, as opposed to a whole bunch of dry brush streaks of cold steel or pig iron or
Sure.
blighted gold. So
You sacrificed for us, Brendan, and we appreciate it.
I like to give back.
Patrick is asking if there are any new paints being made for Crucible Guard. I don't know the answer to that.
I also do not know the answer to that.
That's, yeah.
We were just talking about all the secrets we know, and then the first simple question we get asked, we're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. No idea.
Well, the
If
question
I knew, I
then
would-
it becomes, do we not know, or do we know but don't know?
Well,
But
if,
yeah,
if
yeah.
I knew, I would play coy.
Sure.
Play,
Yeah.
play it close to the vest, but I don't know.
Yeah, like honestly, we don't know. We know that there are many new paints being worked on, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're working on for like each new faction as they come out, et cetera, et cetera. I hope so. I think it'd be cool, right? That'd be something that'd be neat.
I'm very anxious to start working on the new recipes.
Yeah.
We already started getting some into the studio, the finished masters.
Nice.
So they're looking really awesome. Yeah. Secrets.
Secrets.
So,
Secrets.
Will this sculpt be available at LVO from Patrick? LVO happens in what month? Does anybody know?
it's January.
January,
I think
so
it's
probably
late January.
not. Well,
That's not a question we can really answer at this point.
Sure.
Or that we even would be able to answer. That's our convention. JR, our convention
Yeah, as a
coordinator, would be able to do that.
convention coordinator
and
would know.
that's what they'll know. And that it's hopefully.
target release date is February.
In
of
February.
Next year, though.
So hopefully.
It's a possibility. It is a possibility, but we cannot guarantee that. But if you're gonna be at LVO, prepare yourself.
Yeah, just go to LVO.
Just prepare yourself, because we do have some cool stuff coming.
Oh, always.
Always.
But definitely that'll be out.
Definitely.
What? Hey, Josh, can you hit us with another cool Death Jack fact?
I mean, there's so many facts. I don't know if any of them we consider cool. I mean, I'm just a giant
cool.
lore nerd, right? So, I mean, I guess one of the things I can mention, as I was researching the Death Jack for a separate thing, actually, that I cannot talk about. So it's really funny that you, after you invited me the other day to do Death Jack stuff, the Death Jack came up in another completely separate conversation for something we're doing, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like a coincidence almost.
Yeah, it's just fate.
It is fate. So the Death Jack in Kador is known as the Devil in Iron, and it was actually known as the Devil in Iron long before it was known as the Death Jack. I think it's probably the coolest name,
Devil in Iron.
the Devil in Iron, for anything ever, right? So if you want to sneak in some Crixian runic printing on this model, I know it's a studio model. But I was thinking there'll be some double and iron somewhere in there, Brendan. I won't hate you for it.
I'll just plop him off the base and just do it on his foot.
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
be there, but no one will ever
No
see
one
it.
will ever
But
know.
we'll know.
No one will ever know.
I think that's the name of the random encounter scenario for Company of Iron.
Oh, well,
Devil in Iron.
well done, Tony. Tony, every time I'm on here, you come up with such cool ideas.
Yeah, this might be the only time
We have
just sitting in this room.
We have to immediately find Oz and be like, hey, Oz, here's a bunch more work for you to do.
Why? Why not? That's why.
Why not?
So we do, you can just do 4 large bases, like in square quadrants.
Oh, yeah.
You have to, and one of them is the death jack. So if you get too close, that's the one that just randomizes and pops out the death jack.
Oh, yeah.
What if they also move around randomly?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like one of them every turn moves around so that they get placed in the beginning, move around, and then you don't know which one's gonna
Maybe.
pop up.
All I know is you can easily tell that we're not game developers.
Oh, no. What if this cool random thing with no mathematical background and no balance whatsoever?
What if it just ascended from beneath the table?
Yeah.
Just rised up.
I will say we're just making a lot of work for a lot of people, but if we had Danny make a Death Jack Company of Iron table for this scenario, that'd be so dope for like Lock and Load. Hey, Danny, make that happen.
But while we're brainstorming, we could also do it for grind, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
The
Oh,
grind
yeah.
ball is actually just death jack, and he fights back.
Oh yeah, the grinder has Skull of Hate on it. That'd be pretty dope.
Jason's asking for more Death Jack fluff. Do we have anything else?
Oh, man, I got a lot.
So you said that Gorton. So this guy, like, it seems like he doesn't like Gorton, and now he doesn't like dwarves anymore. Is there a warcaster in Cricks that he seems to prefer, or is there one that prefers him?
That's a great question. I think typically not, right? I think maybe some of the more powerful, like Lich Lords, have a better handle on him, because the Death Jack, especially if you knew in like previous iterations of the game, like he was definitely difficult to control, right? Like there were older versions where like if he didn't have enough skulls, like enough souls fed to him, like he might go crazy or whatever and attack his warcaster. But people like Asphyxius or Terminus, rest in pieces, Terminus, probably had a little easier time than, say, someone who might be a little lower level.
So the extraordinary powerful one.
The extraordinarily powerful ones definitely could control it with its will. I mean, I think Seacat would probably fly in here and punch me in the back of the head if I said this, but I always imagine controlling Death Jack as kind of being somewhere in between being like a warcaster and a warlock, in the sense that the Death Jack is kind of like controlling a war beast in a sense, right? Because it has its own will, its own personality, and it is definitely trying to escape, right, or influence its own will.
More to dominate
To dominate,
rather than
yeah,
direct.
to direct it, yeah. But again, Getz and Seacat could probably. I could hear them coming, rushing down the hallway now, being like, "What are you talking about? You don't know what? Why do you have this guy in here? Get him out! He's just a homeless bum. He doesn't work here anymore."
And I'll just be like, whoa. He's my privateer press power pal. You need to back up.
This is not canon, folks. I just have a bunch of. Let's see. I've got 4 books open right now on the Death Jack, just to make sure that all of my facts are correct.
All right. How tall is he?
Oh, I could totally answer that.
Right.
Give me a second.
And on top of that, Jason wants to know. He wants to know more about Cricks. He wants to know the best place to start for Cricks fluff.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he has 4 books open right now.
Yeah, I do. This is so he's 15 feet tall.
Jeez.
That's pretty big.
He's a pretty big guy. I think that includes, when we talk about height, that usually includes the smokestacks too.
You know, I have these moments sometimes when I'm like, we're looking at miniatures on the table and kind of this, to scale world, and I forget sometimes how big these things would be in real life. I mean, even
Sure.
even some of the light jacks, like a Death Ripper, would still be up to my head. I mean, I'd be
Yeah, I don't
face
think
to face with that.
Yeah, I don't
thing.
think about that either.
Yeah. The Death Ripper, you think it's
gigantic.
tiny. You think it's tiny, but
Yeah.
no, it's like a motorcycle.
When we had
right?
that cinematic with the
With Haley,
with
yeah,
Haley
yeah.
and, and Denny, right?
Yeah.
They came in and you're like, oh right,
Right.
I totally forgot they're huge.
Oh yeah. The rippers are so tiny. No, yeah, they're like little motorcycles.
And everything just kind of gets bigger from there.
Oh yeah. So to answer Jason asking, I got the Humble Bundle books. Thank you for picking those up. What's the best place to start for Cricks Fluff? So for Cricks, I have to look at the Humble Bundle again, but we had the RPG stuff, and Cricks is mentioned in the Kings, Nations, and Gods. So if you read that, you could get a pretty good sense of the general scope of Cricks. And the Skull Island books, there's a couple of Cricks theme ones that will give you a good personality, like background on the personalities, right? Like we have one on, was it Venethrax? I think we had one on Venethrax. I don't remember. It's called Wormblade. I don't know if it was in the Humble Bundle, but it's a pretty good book. But yeah, and then if you ever pick up any of the command books, right? We like especially like the Cricks command book. That one has a lot of details on pretty much the entire army infrastructure, how each of the different pieces of Cricks, right? Like how the Ghost Fleet is different from the Black Fleet, and how Statixes are different from Banes and where they come from and who the characters are and everything. I highly recommend. Plus, they're beautiful. I'm really proud of the work we did of the command books.
They look very nice.
The new art on them is like gorgeous. Hi Derek, I see you there. Yeah, you used to be able to make the death check in the RPG. That is true. Be the old school. I'm looking at them right now. The old school black and white RPG had the rules for the death check. Will we do that again someday? Who knows? Question mark.
Uh-oh.
Coy talking.
You go, Coy.
Company of Coy.
Yeah,
Company of
definitely an entire company of Koi we are.
So also keep in mind we're not writers as well.
That's true. That is true. So do you think, Brendan, like when I look at Cricks models, I see that they have a lot of unusual detail, a lot of different bits. Can they be some of the most detailed and complicated models to paint for the studio?
Well, I've seen a lot of the stuff coming up, and as the
Stop
CID,
teasing. They're gonna revolt. The stream is gonna revolt. Like, because I know what you're talking about.
Well, we know what it is.
Yeah, I know what you're
it's
talking
gone
about.
through CID. It's
Yeah.
Is it still in CID now?
Which ones?
The themes. The new
Yes.
themes for the pirates. So those look beautiful. Very, very complex sculpts. But in the end, they're going to be very gratifying. The level of details is probably going to be closer to what you get from Trolls, where you just expect more elements and different textures to be on there. But I mean, in the end, it's just really nice. Like our old pirate sculpts, Mercenary or Cricks Pirates, like they're still, I think, some of the most flavorful, characterful models. And I feel like that's kind of coming back a little bit with the stuff we're bringing out for Cricks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, there's definitely a lot of really interesting models. Like, there's a couple things on there, and I can't remember specifically if it's still in CID or not, so I don't want to say. But like, there's stuff on there that I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna have to get some Cricks stuff.
Yeah. But one cool thing about Cricks is it has those different elements inside of it, like the Banes, and then you have the pirates.
They look different. They have different.
They're so different. Painting a Bane is a lot easier if you're looking for just something you can do in a weekend, than it is painting like Statixes Raiders.
Sure.
Just because of the amount of different elements on it. So if you're just like, if you're a Cricks player and you just want to take a break from more elements, like, you don't want to do the jewelry, you don't do multiple cloth types, you can easily just switch over to, I'm just going to do bone and some metal.
Sure.
And I'll call it a day on my Bane Riders or my Bane
Right.
Or...
Let's see. Marco says he loves me. I love you too, Marco. David says, I thought the best fluff that gives the best perspective into Cricks was the story of Sturgis that was in No Quarter a while back. Yes, so that was way back, I think No Quarter 55, 54. And that was written by our own Mike Ryan, who was then editor-in-chief and now publishing director. It's a really, really good story from the perspective of Sturgis, the corrupted. Yeah, check it out, man. You'll be able to check out some of that stuff You can check it out if you pick up some of the old No Quarter Classic back issue PDFs. Some of that stuff has a trove of lore and treasure and background and stuff that with the new No Quarter Prime, well, it's awesome and it's more focused and it's more like it's good for like if you're just into War Machine Horde. Some of the old classic stuff is really good for like if you want to learn more about the setting and some of the deeper, weirder corners of the setting.
Yeah, I got the
Hi,
sneak
Scott.
peek.
What's up?
No Quarter number 2.
Oh
Prime, number
yeah,
2.
we
I
just
saw
got
that.
it. Yeah, we just got it in. We
That's-
just got it in.
That's really
I don't
nice.
have mine yet.
Well, you
I
have
had to go in
cop
his
it.
office and
did.
sneak a peek at the issue you guys got in. So,
Yeah, it's if you like trolls, if you want to learn all about the background of the Northkin, pick it up. We're really, really proud of that issue.
yeah, it's really nice. It's got a lot of good content in there too. If you're curious what I'm doing on the painting, I just returned to my base color of Jack Bone. I'm kind of just going back over and just reclaiming areas, bringing back some of the original color from the wash and shades that I already brought in.
Kind of dropping the ball on these paint swatches here, but I'll throw up a Jack Bone swatch right now. Boom, there it is. Aggie wants to know: Are we ever going to make an issue of No Quarter Prime we're not proud of?
Oh, sure. I'm sure we already have, but I'm not going to tell you which ones they are. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm proud of every single one. It's like my children. David asked, do you prefer no metallic metals or non-metallic metals or metallic paint?
I prefer metallic paint,
Yeah.
true metallic metals, over non-metallic metals. I mean, they are just very different techniques. It's what you prefer. I think the amount of effort to do non-metallic metals for tabletop level or for in-person level isn't worth it. They're more visually striking. Non-metallic metals generally are in photography when done correctly. But in person, unless they're like pitch perfect, I don't usually prefer them because I think what you can get out of actual metal is better. But I also like more realistic looking stuff. So if I need realistic looking paint and I happen to have metal, I feel like I can get more out of it than trying to paint with just base colors. So I'm very happy with the fact that we do true metallic metals on our studio models. Since we try to match everything, that's not really something that can change.
Sure. For consistency's sake.
Or can it? I don't know. I'm going to leave everything ambiguous just so no one has any idea what I'm saying.
And no one knows what the future holds.
Yeah.
We talk about Cricksian theme forces for a little bit too.
Oh, yeah? Well, we got new ones coming out. But I do want to say that if you're a huge fan of the Death Jack, I have it on Will Pagani authority that this guy in Black Industries is quite phenomenal. Because it's armor 23 against shooting with advanced deploy. So he's already pretty good. It just felt like he might just not have quite made it into lists. When I made lists, at least, because he does a lot, but you need a warcaster that can really bring him to the fold. And he still would worry about him getting shot off the table, and now it's a lot harder to shoot him off the table. Especially with Scaverous, because he can give him +2 armor.
Right.
And he's armor 25 against shooting. That's really
Right.
good.
Right, with
He's
Carapace?
going to get there.
Because they gain Carapace or something.
They
right?
gain,
Yeah,
they
that's
have,
right.
yep. Yes, they do.
That's okay. I got Faithful Masters. That's all I care about. That's all I need. That's the end of the discussion. That's all I need
Yeah.
in my life. Faithful
You just need some
Masters.
protectorate.
Okay.
Someone's asking about where we get those pivoting painting stands for models. I would love to have one or two. Well, Brendan, answer the question.
Well, this pivoting painting stand is actually just a mic stand with some the poster tack.
Yeah, it's just poster tack.
Poster tack, just so we can keep it in focus for the camera. So we're glad you like it, and you can definitely find a way to do this rig one up yourself. if you find that it helps you. This isn't traditionally how we paint, so I'm very restricted right now as far as angles and whatnot, but it enables you guys to see what I'm doing a lot better.
Yeah, generally, you want a little more motion and ability to rotate the model around and move it. And this mic stand just doesn't allow for that.
But when we're trying to keep something in focus,
Right.
it's phenomenal. But someone asked a question on the forums because they have shaky hands. So they think that it might help them with that. And if that's the case, yeah, definitely give it a shot. I mean, there's no harm in trying.
Right.
And even if you don't, just give it a shot. If you feel like the stabilized miniature that you can turn around is to your benefit,
Sure.
go nuts.
Well, I mean, I know for a fact that when in the studio, Brendan uses like a dead man's frozen hand to grip each model for him, right? And
Right.
he paid top notch for that hand.
Yeah.
I don't want to disparage it, but
Which he then holds in his hand, which I find ironic.
yeah, but like it gives him that distance that he needs, I guess. And I mean, he gets the results.
Yeah,
Definitely gets the results.
Well, is it me that gets the result, or is it the dead man's hand that gets the result?
Oh wow,
Who gets the credit?
that's a good
It's
point.
the eternal question.
That is the eternal questions.
But yeah, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Mic stand, a dead person's hand.
I mean, Dallas is a big proponent of the painting cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or anything to use to hold the model without actually touching, because you don't want to
Right.
have your fingers on the base the
Right,
entire
right,
time,
right.
rotating and whatnot. So double-sided tape that you can get, and it'll hold anything. Like I can put down a gargantuan on a big base or a colossal and turn it upside down, and it'll stay with enough double-sided tape. So it's quite effective, and that way I never have to really touch the model. In areas that I would touch, like I'd probably stabilize here, that might wipe off some of this. I can just
Sure.
be like, I'm going to paint that last, and then not worry about it as much.
Josh has been quoted in the chat for the cold dead hand, so that's canon now.
Well, I only speak the truth. I don't want to call anyone out, but sometimes the studio team goes a little extravagant on their purchases for the things they need. Dead man's hands, gold, solid gold brushes. It's like it feels like that's way too of a heavy brush. Why do you need the handle to be solid gold? But Dallas is like, hey man, that's what I need.
And we learn not to ask questions.
We have learned how to answer. He calls it the Cadillac of paintbrushes, and I'm not gonna argue with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about cars, so
Yeah. I mean, maybe the Cadillac's a really bad car. Who knows at this point?
So we got about 5 minutes left.
Oh no.
Tell us more painting secrets. In the
Yeah.
last 5
Do you guys?
minutes,
Yeah,
Brendan.
so let's do some lightning round questions. If you guys
Sure.
have anything you want
As
to
well.
talk about out there in Chatland,
Yeah.
questions, comments, anything like that, bring them up because now's the time.
Yeah, comments, questions. What should be nerfed? What hasn't been nerfed enough? We'll get Pagani in here. It'll be great. What should be in CID? Come on, guys. We haven't heard it all before. Give it to us.
So David, can you clarify your question a little bit? Does the studio learn to use airbrushes?
I think he's asking, does the studio team use airbrushes?
We will occasionally.
Yeah. Oh, Pagani's on. He heard.
Yeah, what?
I will.
So if you have any real complaint over a game mechanic, Pagani is the person to ask. Did we tag him?
So
actually,
see
in a
now everybody
comment
knows that
earlier?
Pagani's in chat right now.
Oh, here
there
we
you
go. It's going crazy. Patrick asked, Brendan, is it true that your beard knows kung fu?
No, but the fist underneath my beard does.
Yeah.
These skulls look great.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
I mean, like, they're sculpted extremely well.
I think
Still a lot of work to do in the painting department, but when they start glowing the eyes, this is just such a step up.
I think we forgot to address David's question about airbrushes. Does the studio use airbrushes?
Yeah, we do use airbrushes. Not every single model, but anytime that we the amount of time it takes to clean and prepare the airbrush is going to be less than the amount of time it takes to base coat whatever it is we're going to airbrush. So generally, it's going to be like larger models. But from time to time, yeah, we use them. So hopefully you guys think this guy looks cool, 'cause I definitely do.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Scott asks, is there an artistic choice to not use airbrushes frequently?
Well, technically, yes, just due to the fact that we as a studio have already defined how everything's painted, and we use two-brush blending.
Sure.
So it's how we go about painting models moving forward is two-brush blending. If we start switching to an airbrush-specific style, it's going to kind of route out the old stuff. As far as visually, it's going to look different, and we don't really want to. It's kind of like when you get a new model. You want it to look like and match your old model. Even if you're getting better at painting, you still want it to follow the same scheme. We're still moving forward, trying to match these models to the armies that we have in our cases.
Right.
So even the models that are older and newer, we're still trying to make them all look visually the same. So when they have that awesome photo spread, it doesn't look out of place.
Sure.
Which would potentially happen if we start focusing on airbrush-specific paint.
Just like a proper painting session, Balder says, insane banter. I don't know if it's insane.
Goal achieved, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if it's insane. I think it's very logical and measured.
Dead Man's Hand.
Yeah, yeah, man.
It's just standard.
Just standard talk.
It's fair.
Dead Man's Hand. Okay, that's another. I don't know what it looks like, but that's another Company of Iron scenario.
Oh,
I'm writing that one down.
I'm sure Oz or like Souls or someone totally knows what that looks like and they know what it is.
All right, hopefully you get that face in the shot, because this guy is fantastic.
Are you proud of what you've done so far on this stuff? Jack?
Am I proud of it? There's still a lot of work to be done.
Sure.
I'll say that. But just the sculpt. That's just everything I've ever imagined when I've thought of the Death Jack.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I'm just a huge fan of the Death Jack, and the sculpt accurately represents everything I imagined him to be.
there's something about the new proportions, right? There's some tweaks in the proportions that look really, really good. Looks so
He is
dynamic.
big.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, I put him together, and I was thinking he was kind of small, but then I got a whole bunch of other Jacks from the case and put him up next to it, and I was like, oh, I don't know what I was thinking, because he's quite large, which is hard to tell when he's by himself like this, but you'll see. That's all I can say. Is you'll see. He's pretty big.
Or if you pick them up in February, you'll be able to know by yourself the horrors of the Death Check, the nightmare,
Skulls
beast,
of Hate.
the devil in iron.
It's pretty good.
So I think we got one more question.
One more question.
Let me look.
Studio bases tend to be pretty basic in terms of the basing with some grass and they're done. Is that to not detract from the model, or is that for another reason?
Well, it's also to fit them with all the models before. It would look a little weird, again, for photography if we all of a sudden changed up how all the bases work, unless we match them for the thousands of models we have in our case.
Sure.
But as well as, yes, if it's not based, it'll look off. If it's based too well, you'll start focusing on the base, and you might not be sure exactly what comes with the models, particularly if it's particularly fancy. But when it's based just kind of basic, I'm going to use that term, it still fits everything into the same world, makes it simple, doesn't draw your eye away from the model, but also doesn't draw your eye to the fact that there's nothing there.
Sure.
So it needs to be based. The old adage, faces and bases, is going to go a long way in making your model visually interesting from further away. And that's kind of just how it is. That's just how the studio has always done it, and that's how we'll continue to do it.
That's right. For consistency's sake.
Yep. Consistency goes a long way.
And Kieran, sorry that you were coming in late. We're just about to wrap up, but you will be able to watch this stream on Facebook as soon as we're done here. It'll be available to watch, and also we'll be posting it to
Josh's
YouTube tomorrow.
Beautiful serenade of fluff and Crixian lore.
And great painting techniques from Brendan.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that sounds like a good. I think we're going to go out on that one.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Have a great one.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.